then you can click on the pause recording. If you want, you can just leave this like this for now.
Yeah.
Just do pause, I would say. Hit cancel. And hit on the pause.
Live. Calling the meeting of the Land Preservation Commission to order. Carol, would you do us the favor of calling the roll?
All right.
Big pressure.
Will Weber
Here.
here. Tim is not here. John Reiser is not here. Liz Weissman is not here. Barry Lonick is here. Lisa Pappas
Here.
and Janine
LaPrade. Here.
and me here.
Yeah, good name practice for you, right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So everyone have a copy of the agenda here? Do we have any additional matters to put on the agenda?
Well, I have a correction
Okay, to the agenda?
to the agenda. Yes, for the July 11th. They have Janine as present and absent. And Janine was absent.
Ah,
So that needs to be correct.
so it's the minutes then you're talking about?
Oh, wait, okay, yes, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself here.
It's okay, but
Okay.
I probably, did you feel like you were dissociated?
Totally. I was running barefoot and wild in northern Michigan, so I was definitely disassociated.
All right, so the one thing on the agenda that's not on the agenda that I'd like to just go into a little detail is the sustainability fair coming up in October. Just, we'll talk about that and decide where we're going, and I'm imagining Tim will have a role, so hopefully he'll be here and we'll bring it up again. Next is approval of the minutes. So your comment is relevant here.
Do we need to approve the agenda?
Sorry, we have a motion to approve the agenda,
So moved.
second,
Please. Second.
moved and seconded, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. I need these reminders, as you know, from listening to Liz, that's why she sits here. All right, now, next is the minutes, and everybody have a chance to take a look at them? You know, they look good to me, but you had one comment.
Yeah, the one correction is the attendance for the July 11th meeting has Janine as
Okay, that was,
present and then absent.
so we've had two meetings, minutes actually, haven't we, to think
Yes.
about?
And this is the
So
July
can you
11th.
make a note on that so that,
Yes,
all right, and how about the second meeting, which was sometime
25th.
25th?
Mhm.
Yeah. Any comments on those minutes? All right, if there's no further comments, then can we have a motion to approve those two sets of minutes?
I motion.
All right, I'll second both. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, moving right along here. Public comments, anybody tune in yet?
There are no hands raised yet.
Oh, maybe it's, okay, well, no public comments. I'll have another crack later if need be. Reports of other, it's gonna go quickly, I think. Reports of other commissions. Anybody been to any of these other meetings? The news, of course, is the Board of Trustees election, and our representative, John, was barely elected. And I'm hopeful that he's going to continue, but I guess we'll have to see until November how things play out. And probably no need for further comment there. Regarding the Sustainability Task Force, how many of you had a chance to go last year to the Sustainability Task Force?
To the fair.
To the fair, excuse me, to the fair, right? No, well, it was held in the garage back here. I thought it was actually kind of a neat event because you had a chance to meet a lot of your most concerned fellow Scio citizens. And we had an opportunity to really lay our stuff out, and it's coming up, what did I say, October 4th? It was in the minutes, and it's across kind of across the street over in the Meyer parking lot. Anybody interested in getting together on that project and putting together a display? We've got a lot of materials. and making a commitment to be there,
It's October 6th.
October 6th, okay? How about it, folks?
I'll probably be out of state in South Dakota.
Uh,
I think that it would be good to reuse the signage that you spoke so highly of last
yeah,
year.
we have that.
And update that and utilize the office's printing capabilities and.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of having on hand the applications for, an easement and purchase, which is
Yeah.
readily available. And being there to talk about it. What my experience was, is that, a lot of people wandered by and asked about it, and they had some familiarity with some of the properties depicted, but not a very clear sense of how they came about. And I think that's important role. It's not just what you put together, put on table, but the
Yeah.
chance to talk with people. And Barry, were you there, Barry? Did you go? No. But we talked about stimulating people with prospective properties to come and have a chance to meet with us. Whether that happened, I think maybe we had one or two people who were thinking about, the idea. So it also, it's making the pitch for it here. I think it's supportive of another one of the volunteer committees here in the township that's really working hard. And I think just showing up is it
Who made the sign last year?
was done by the planning, what is the name of the planning company that they used for that, Barry? Do you recall? What's it?
Is it Carlisle Workman?
Carla Workman, yeah.
And it showed all the concerns.
It was a sampling of individual properties that have public access. And the purpose of the original preparation, which was done instead of small, well, actually, we had an open house here to talk about the master plan for the township. This is something that has to be done in order to qualify for state aid. So the township went big with Carla Wortman, and I don't know how much it cost, but that was probably a pretty penny they had to engage someone with a knowledge of planning and a knowledge of graphic production and, an agency that could produce this stuff in order to create the master plan. Which, did you get a copy of that in the package that you received?
I think I got a copy of
It's
that
pretty
earlier.
thick little.
I went and had requested it earlier, so I have it.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, really, and it really says, hey, this township's really working hard on, these kinds of projects. And so it was a ready-made thing for us. We didn't have to do a lot of work to put those things together.
I would vote for redoing that sign with updates. And instead of bringing a bunch of printout applications to a sustainability fair, adding a QR code that if anybody did sign up and wanted to apply their property, they could scan the QR code and go straight to the application.
Okay, I guess that's, I don't know how many of those we distributed, and we could still have a couple, but I think the QR code is a good supplement to it
but-
as well.
So,
Are you able to create a QR code for that link?
I could create a QR code and give it to whoever would be updating the sign.
Okay, well, maybe what we would have is a piece of paper with the QR code on the table.
We could do it that way.
Yeah,
too, Sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right. We have any further insight into any of these other commission activities?
Well, I would
Yes.
just add, I do know we're preparing for the Board of Trustees' upcoming agenda for a grant, matching grant for the sustainability fair over at Meyer, so that'll be on the upcoming agenda, along with the contract with Meyer that they've agreed to allow us to use their parking lot, October 6th. So that's
Okay.
the background that's coming up.
Is that Jan Culbertson's effort? that-
Yes. Yes.
Okay, if you haven't met Jan Culbertson, she's a really key person in this whole thing, and I mean, everybody who's worked with her really admires the effort she's put into
It's
these
got
projects.
sustainability in her blood.
Yes. Okay, no old business. No new business. Hey, this is really something. We're moving right along. Barry, you want to tell us a few things about what might be coming up in our closed session? Or no, actually, sorry, you have the open session report, and then we'll get to
Which
that.
is also brief. I did not see financial statements
I can prepare those and get those to you, Barry,
Yeah.
but do you want them next month or do you want them? I could do it probably after this meeting. I don't think we've had much change, I think, in the
Yeah.
last month, but I can prepare those.
So what is the process here, Chris, for your acquiring it?
Yep, they've given me kind of a cheat sheet. I can go in there into our software system and I can look up the financials. I have it all written down on my little cheat sheet how to do it. And I was supposed to get it, I think, before the meeting, and I didn't attach it to the agenda, but I can hand them out. I don't think there's any changes from the previous month. But I can also, if you prefer, I could probably do that tomorrow and send it to the group if you prefer to. It'll essentially be the same report as last month with a different date on it.
Well, what is your preference? Would you like to have it for your records and an updated one for the current month?
No, not necessary.
Oh, I don't want you to do extra. Anybody here want a duplicate of what they got
We've
last
got the
month?
ballpark numbers.
But we'll update it then next month for.
All right, let's remember
for the
that.
September
Give you
meeting.
time.
Barry, you might want to send me a reminder, but I'll try to put a Post-it note. I'll have that with the next agenda.
Yeah, typically, Chris, we're preparing agendas for posting and distribution over the weekend to get
Right.
to Francis by Tuesday morning.
Right.
So Barry needs maybe Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that
And I think
sound
Liz
right,
is
Barry?
pretty good about sending me reminders too. I know she's gone right now, but I'm sure she'll send me a reminder before she prepares the next agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
And then, the only other thing in my public session report that was sent to you previously and made available, for the public was the RCPP.
yes,
And there's no news on that, but just want to make sure everybody understood that the application was submitted by Legacy Land Conservancy. It was for almost $25 million, which is the maximum amount that can be awarded. It's Scio, Ann Arbor, Northfield, Dexter, and Webster Townships, City of Ann Arbor Greenbelt Program, and Washtenaw County Natural Area Preservation Program, and then Legacy had some funding requested as well as was the coordinator of the application. So that was submitted about a month ago. And last I heard, we'll hear about it later on this year, probably late in the year, so.
who is actually doing the coordination with Legacy? Who is the person, you know?
At Legacy,
Yeah,
Susan LaCroix is her name. She's the sort of my equivalent there, the land protection director or something of that nature. is her title.
so you have a relationship, you'll hear from her immediately if there's any
Oh, yeah.
developments.
Yeah.
All right,
And all those other townships that are engaged, are you a liaison with all of those?
I am.
And Scio? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so, all the townships and the Greenbelt and the county, and probably Legacy too, pledged a certain amount of money that would be matched 1-to-1 with the federal funds. And since we have a millage that will start kicking in here for the third 10 years, I believe it's on this winter's tax bill. This is one that we passed 2 years ago, ahead of schedule. And, you know, the millage more or less generates about $600,000 a year, and so I said, we're in for 6 million. You know, some of the other, I think it was the most of any of the land preservation public entities. I think Ann Arbor Township was maybe 4 million. And Webster was 2, and Dexter was 2, Northfield was 1. And I was surprised that the Greenbelt and the county didn't put in more. I don't remember the figure off the top of my head, but it was only a couple $1 million. They have more resources than we have available. But so it's conceivable that the entire $25 million will be awarded. I think it's actually 24.6, but easier to say 25. And it's conceivable that it will be reduced some. It might be 18 million or 20 million or whatever. In which case we'll just prorate everybody's pledges. And it's also possible we'll get nothing. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. We've got a good track record with doing these kinds of easement projects amongst all the partners and dedicated funding sources through millages. And so I don't see how they can say no. They may not say yes to 25 million, but that means that if the award is made, let's say it's the entire 25 million, then we would have claim to up to $6 million of the federal funds to use on projects here in the township. So, and we've done a couple of these projects. I guess we only did one here so far, and that was for the Andrus West property. There was some funding from a previous RCPP award that was available for that. And I recognize that that wouldn't score as well for the federal annual agricultural conservation easement program, or ASEP. And so we got ASEP money for the east part of the Andrus property, and we used the RCPP for the west part of it. And it did end up being 50% in that case because we had other partners, and there wasn't that much federal money left over after other projects had been completed. But it was still 37 or 40%, something like that, significant. But we would have access to up to $6 million in federal funds as 50% match. So the township could just do a 50-50 match with the federal funds. Or the other 50% non-federal can be, you know, any combination of township, county, greenbelt, and so forth, or other sources, plus landowners' discounts, if we get those. So that would be the upside of this, that we could, you know, and basically any project that we had, large or small, would be eligible for this program. So if we had a property, say that, you know, wasn't attractive to other funding sources, we could still use the federal funds for this and get half of the money covered for that.
Would we still be able to round up other matches? I mean, we're not excluded from partnering with some of these other organizations in the event, you know, they are interested in supporting the project.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. So the $6 million pledge that Scio has put in could be much more than that. Or, you know, much less than, I guess, much less, because we might be leveraging funds from other sources, yeah. And I also want to emphasize, I think everybody here may understand that, but since we're being recorded and broadcasted, that the Scio's funds would only be used in Scio. That's a question that's come up a number of times. So, you know, what if, you know, Scio doesn't have projects or something? Can, you know, could Scio's money be used somewhere else? The answer to that is no. The federal money could be used somewhere else if we didn't have projects, and the reverse is true also. If we had more projects than some of our partners had and couldn't use the federal funds for their projects in, say, Webster Township, then we can say, hey, we've got, you know, a need for some extra money over here. And so that the federal money that was allocated to Webster could be used here or elsewhere. But Scio's funds that the taxpayers are making possible can only be used in Scio.
And it's 50-50 match, is that what?
That's yes, so the federal money can cover no more than 50%. And it could be less. And then the other 50% is, you know, has to come from Scio and other sources.
All right.
So we'll wait to hear on that. I'll keep you posted if I hear anything. And the one thing I wanted to mention that's not on my report here is that the Webster Township millage renewal passed on Tuesday with 63% support. So
That's great.
yeah, it's a further indication that these programs are successful and popular, and people continue to vote in favor of them in large numbers.
Remind me what our vote passed by.
It was something in that range.
It was, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
figured out to tell you.
Okay.
But it seems like they're all passing between 60 and 70%.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd like to say, in any election, if you get 60% of the votes, that's called a landslide. And we've done, you know, very well here and elsewhere with these programs. And you know, as you all know, we've done great things. It's, you know, conserving 225,000 acres or something like that in the last 20 years or so. So people recognize that. We're fortunate to live in a community of educated people that usually have a little extra money in their pocket. They're willing to put 50 or $100 out of their income into these programs, and we do great things with them. I'm gonna get that number for you.
Has anybody heard from Tim?
I
I texted him.
texted him and his notifications are silenced.
Yeah,
So,
same thing I got.
Should we call him?
Yeah, that's fair.
you're so old fashioned.
Or I know, let me text his wife.
Talk to him, Rick.
Let me text Patty.
So the should go back here. So Scio's first millage in 2004 passed with 75% support.
Wow.
And then the first renewal, which was also a couple years early, was 70%. And then the most recent one, also a couple years early, that starts to kick in now, is 68%. So that's the last one that you were involved with.
What was the Webster Township renewal?
63 on this, on Tuesday's ballot.
It's interesting that it goes down. Like, what's that about? At least it's still high.
Yeah, I mean, it's 73 is incredibly high, or 75, I guess was the first one. Sometimes it is a factor of which ballot it's on. That is, the common wisdom is that the more people who show up for an election, the more votes you're gonna get. So the best time to be on the ballot is in November of a presidential year. And the second best time is November in Michigan of the even year when the governor's on the ballot. And sometimes there's a US senator on there also. And then the next time is August, primaries in those even years, and then it diminishes from there. So I know in Webster, the lowest approval that we got, I think, was 60%, and that was like in a November odd year. And there was nothing really else on the ballot. But, so people showed up and they voted in favor, but only by 60%. So that's all I have for the open session report.
Well, we penalized for going quickly through our meeting here. All right, here's a question. You don't have anybody waiting or listening, right?
Well, hands are raised.
Are the people online?
Yeah, we do. We do have Rob Pattinson and Kathleen Brandt. Oh, I'm sorry, Rob Pattinson does have his hand raised.
I'm gonna call Tim real quick.
I tried and I couldn't get through.
Okay.
I believe, Karen muted Rob if you want him to, this is the time you want him to speak, get his hand up. May not have seen it earlier.
Well, it's certainly okay if we've got time to listen to his comment.
Is this public comment time?
We're not here. We have attendance at next meeting.
Well, we're in a situation, Rob, where we're lacking a quorum,
Yeah,
so,
we have a quorum.
well, we do, well, we're lacking a closed session quorum.
Yes, we have to have a 2/3 majority
Yeah,
of those appointed.
so Rob, for you, we'll make a special exception and you can take as much time as you like for your comment.
Hey, we'll buy Tim a couple of extra minutes. Okay, I got two questions for Barry. On your closed session report, I obviously don't need to know the details, but could you give us a summary of how many projects are sort of simmering in the background for Scio Township in terms of
Sure.
future
Sure.
projects?
Can do.
And then the county millage that just passed, the land preservation county millage that just passed, will any of that money be coming to Scio?
Let me answer that one first. The Washtenaw County Parks had a millage renewal on Tuesday's ballot also. So there's three county parks millages that have been levied for quite some time. Two of them, at least I think of as being parkland acquisition, development, and operations. And that's for, and they've been around since I think the 1970s, long time. And that's, you know, to purchase and develop and operate things like Independence Lake that has a beach and a water park and you know, disc golf course and other things like that, or Rolling Hills County Park south of Ypsilanti that has a water park and various other more developed aspects to it, or the Pierce Lake golf course over near Chelsea. And so I think of those villages as being ones that are used for purchasing the land, developing those places, and then operating them. People pay fees also to golf or to, you know, use the water park or those kinds of things. But it's the fees and these villages that provide the revenue to be able to operate those facilities. And the one that was on Tuesday's ballot is one of those two villages. And then the third one is the Natural Area Preservation Program. So I think the answer, Rob, to your question is that it's highly unlikely any of those funds will be used in Scio, because we don't have any of the developed parks here in Scio.
Makes sense.
The third one, the Natural Area Preservation Village, is in its third 10 years. It was last renewed in 2000. And that's been used to purchase a number of properties around the county, but also several of those here in Scio. There's the Burns Stokes Preserve on the river at Zeeb Road. There's the Divine Preserve on Liberty Road, just west of Zeeb. And there's a third, the Fox Science Preserve, also on Peters Road. I think those are the three preserves that have been purchased through that millage. And that millage is intended to not only purchase those properties, but then also to do some minor development. There's little parking areas and kiosks and trails, and I think some trail signs and so forth. That millage can be used for those purposes. And management of those properties also, so removing invasive species and cutting trees that fall across the trail, those kinds of things. They have crews that go out and do that. And then that same millage that we call the NAP millage has been used in Scio a fair bit. Should I give you a number? To support our purchase of land. So for example, the Van Curler Preserve, that's now becoming accessible and usable. When we bought it 8 years ago or something like that, we got money from that millage as well as the Greenbelt program to purchase that property. NAP also helped us buy, I think, both pieces of the Sloan Preserve.
Tim's on his way,
Great.
according to Patty, excuse my.
And then that millage has also been used to support purchases of conservation easements here in Scio Township. So for example, down here on Marshall Road, we have the Levine and Kempter property, the Nature and Nurture Farm, on which we hold a 60-acre conservation easement. That NAP put funds into that. Adjacent to that was the piece that we bought from Mercero years ago. NAP contributed to that. So a number of other properties that we have conserved here in the township, either by fee simple acquisition or by conservation easement have been supported by that NAP millage. And I'll give you a number here. I'm almost there. About how much has been spent here so far. And I'll remind everybody that there's two parts to the NAP millage. 25% of the revenue goes toward the farmland preservation program. And about 60% goes for natural area preservation, either purchasing these properties as preserves or in supporting or purchasing their own conservation easements on properties. And we've tapped into both parts of that program. And to date, that NAP millage has spent here in, there's a Scio Woods Preserve also. That's another one that the county owns. So that's 4 preserves here in the township. They're county owned, some of which we put money into Fox. That's the only one. The other 3 were purchased before Scio had its own dedicated millage.
I'm sorry, what was the 4th one?
The Scio Woods Preserve on Scio Church Road. So it's Scio, Divine, Bird Stokes, and Fox, so 4 of them. So to date, the total amount spent out of that NAP millage here in Scio is $3,859,000 and a little bit more than that. So almost $4 million out of that millage has been spent here in Scio.
3858.
3859, 428 if you want to be exact.
All right, thank you.
And FYI, it looks like Webster passed by 66% according to EMU.
Oh, sorry. The last I saw was the preliminary
Maybe it went up.
results, so it could be.
All right, Ralph, did that answer your questions?
On that one, Rob's other question was about how many projects are under active pursuit at this point. And I would say that there are 6 that we're currently actively pursuing.
Good news, great news. Last question is for Chris. Is there any news on the security of the closed session Zoom connection?
You know what? Chris Bailey just popped his head in and I just waved him off to go home. And he would have been the most appropriate person to probably respond to that. So I can get an update, I'm sure, but as far as I know, everything is, I think is running smoother.
Okay. Well, then be forewarned.
Yeah, I will be monitoring it, Rob.
Yeah, now that Tim is here, once he goes into closed session, I'll do a test and I'll try and sign in and we'll see if I can.
Okay, sounds good. Do a little beta test here.
Okay. Thanks, gang. Well done.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, welcome, Tim.
Yeah, apologies, everyone. I was detained.
All right, at this point,
But the police again, or?
No, not that.
Oh, thank God, thank God.
Wasn't air conditioned.
for the next meeting, to ensure we have enough for a quorum, will everybody here be able to make the next meeting, which is on, what day was it? Somebody could tell me that probably quickly.
September 12th.
12th, okay. Any problems there? All right, well, look forward to seeing you all then, and I'll bet Liz will be back too. And, good. So next item, Barry, you want to give a summary of the, information that we'll be talking about in our closed session?
I'd be glad to. Okay, so we have one of those active pursuits. And we have intention to apply for some matching grants in the coming months here, so I want to just touch base about that. We have another one for which we have federal and state grant awards already, and just wanted to give everybody an update on where that stands. Couple of others that are just kind of brief updates on again, active projects. we'll have some discussion about one property for which there was a recommendation made at the special meeting. That has some new developments to it that are a little concerning. That's really about it, yeah. I don't think there's gonna be any actions taken at this point. I don't think we're far enough along with any of these that there will be anything coming out of the closed session.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, well, at this point, I think we'll attempt to go into closed session. Want to eliminate our exterior audience.
Do we need to
go through
make a
the-
motion?
Or do we need to make this,
We need to make a motion.
well, do we need to read the description?
Yes.
I move to go into closed session for discussion of pending property evaluations pursuant to section 15.268D of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, specifically to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained.
Have a second,
I'll second it.
okay, moved and seconded, we have to call the roll here, I think.
Oh,
Yes, that's correct.
Will,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
and Daryl, yes.
All right, we are then in closed session. And we said goodbye to